I never imagined a single text could turn my world upside down, but that's exactly how it began. My name is Daniel, and I have been married to Rachel for 5 years. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. Friends envied our closeness. Family admired our bond. Strangers often commented on how connected we appeared. But appearances are deceiving. Behind the smiles and polite words were secrets. Secrets that would hit me harder than I could have ever imagined. It started on a Friday evening. I had planned a surprise. Tickets to a show she'd mentioned months ago, followed by a quiet dinner. I left work early, heart racing, picturing the look on her face when she walked in. Then my phone buzzed as I pulled into the parking lot. A message from Rachel, short, casual, almost careless. Stuck at the office party. Sleeping at a colleague's tonight. Don't wait up. A chill ran down my spine. I tried to reason with myself. Office parties run late. Maybe she had no ride. Maybe it was just a friend's house. But something in her tone, the casual dismissal, set off alarms in my gut. I'd noticed subtle changes for weeks. Longer hours, guarded calls, unusual clothing choices, unexplained absences. I wanted to ignore it, to trust her, to believe our life together was intact. But instinct, a quiet, insistent voice, told me otherwise. By the time I reached the office complex she'd mentioned, I was already late. But she wasn't there. I stayed hidden in the shadows, watching the night unfold. The parking lot emptied slowly, leaving only a few stragglers. Then I saw him, Jason, a colleague she casually mentioned at work, walking toward the entrance with her, close, familiar, unmistakably intimate. Everything my instincts had screamed was confirmed. She had lied. She wasn't just stuck at a party. She was with him. I didn't rush in. I didn't confront them. Anger can cloud judgment. I stayed hidden, observing, noting, processing. I knew what I had to do. It wasn't about a public scene or drama. It was about control, gathering evidence, preparing for the moment when the truth could no longer be ignored. I watched them leave together, her laughing, his arm around her, completely unaware I had already seen everything she tried to hide. By the end of the night, my plan was clear. This wasn't about revenge in the moment. It was strategy. She had broken my trust, and the consequences would be precise, undeniable, and final. I would not plead. I would not argue. I would act with purpose. And when the time came, she would learn that deceit, no matter how carefully hidden, always comes to light. The next morning, I sat in my car outside our apartment, replaying every detail from the night before. Hands steady on the wheel, mind racing. I didn't want chaos. I wanted clarity, a path that left no room for denial or excuses. Rachel had underestimated me, underestimated the consequences of her actions. That miscalculation would define my next moves. First, gather irrefutable proof. Texts, call logs, GPS check-ins, all meticulously documented. Every lie, every alibi, now impossible to deny. By noon, I had compiled a folder ready for those who needed the truth. Her parents, our closest friends. Anyone who had trusted her words. Not to humiliate, not to shame, but to reveal reality. Trust, once broken, demands acknowledgement. When Rachel returned, oblivious of the storm waiting, I didn't greet her. I didn't smile. I placed my phone on the counter, evidence displayed. Her eyes widened, disbelief and panic mingling. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Silence carried the weight of months of deception, and for the first time, she realized her carefully crafted world was crumbling. Then I confronted Jason. No shouting, no curses. One precise, calculated moment made him grasp the severity of his actions. He had assumed he could manipulate my marriage without consequence. He was wrong. My assertion wasn't about violence. It was a message. Betrayal always has a cost. By the time I left, both of them understood the consequences. I had reclaimed control of the life they tried to manipulate. That evening, I prepared the next step, legal closure. Divorce papers were drafted, filed, and served with precision. This wasn't revenge. It was protection, a formal recognition of the trust and dignity she had destroyed. Ghosting her wasn't cruelty. It was a shield, a barrier against the chaos she invited into my life. By nightfall, I had packed essentials, ready to remove myself entirely from her orbit. Every object, every memory, a potential anchor to a poisoned past. No theatrics needed. My disappearance was deliberate, final, and unshakable. She would eventually understand the full impact of her betrayal, but I would already be gone, free from its weight. Driving away, the city lights blurred as I navigated empty streets. Each mile distanced me from the life I thought I had. The laughter, the warmth, the illusion of trust. With every turn, the burden of betrayal eased, replaced by liberation. She chose lies. I chose freedom. For the next few days, I vanished completely. No calls, no texts, no social media updates. Silence became my refuge, a way to live without reminders of her deception. Any contact, even desperate apologies, would only tether me back to betrayal. Ghosting her wasn't cruelty, it was self-preservation. In parallel, I finalized the legal steps. Divorce wasn't just a separation, it was a declaration of autonomy. I acted not out of anger or spite, but to protect my future, to ensure her choices could no longer control my life. Every signature, every form filed reinforced the finality of her actions. There was no undoing this. Betrayal has a price, and she had paid it in full. Weeks became months. I rebuilt routines, focused on work, surrounded myself with friends who reminded me of life beyond deceit. Thoughts of Rachel and Jason no longer dominated my days. They became memories, lessons, and warnings. Occasionally, I imagined her realizing the scope of her miscalculation, the broken trust, the ruined connections, the man she underestimated. As time passed, peace emerged. Pain lingered, a shadow from the storm, but it no longer dictated my choices. Rachel's lies, her affair to betrayal, all became a closed chapter. I had confronted reality, exposed the truth, and walked away, not as a victim, but as someone refusing to let deceit define their life. The confrontation, the evidence, the disappearance, the divorce, they were all part of reclaiming my story, my dignity, and my future. Standing at the edge of a quiet park, I understood the lesson clearly. Betrayal destroys trust, but it builds strength. Walking away wasn't cowardice. It was a declaration of self-worth, a refusal to be controlled by someone else's actions. Rachel and her choices no longer held power over me. In stepping away, I reclaimed my life, my integrity, and most importantly, myself. Trust is sacred. Deceit carries consequences. Freedom is a reward for choosing yourself over lies.